this phase, we hope to protect the athlete using a sling, diminish their pain, increase passive range of motion, strengthen scap and distal musculature, and control pain and swelling. With passive flexion, we want to start increasing range of motion without the patient activating their muscles themselves. We would also do this passive range of motion for external rotation. We want to make sure the muscles surrounding the rotator cuff are activated to decrease the chance of causing a change in biomechanics. Active shoulder shrug activates the trap. Scap sets are used to activate the rhomboids and promote scapulohumeral rhythm. To prevent muscle guarding, we also want the patient to activate their elbow and wrist muscles. Here we do elbow flexion and extension and wrist flexion and extension. In this phase, we want to increase range of motion, improve scapular strength and stability, and improve scapulohumeral rhythm. Active range of motion should be improved by the end of this phase. It is important to keep the patient stretching throughout all of rehab, especially when they first start activation of muscles. Sleeper stretch stretches posterior capsule. We want to continue to increase the patient's range of motion. Here we will have them do towel wall slides, which can be more of an active assistive range of motion. In this phase, we want the patient to be activating their own muscles. The full cam position at 45 degrees is where the rotator cuff is at its strongest. Same for external rotation. Prone rows help incorporate active range of motion and early strengthening. Being in a dependent position makes gravity the patient's resistance. Make sure the patient is activating scapular muscles before performing the row. Here we start incorporating proprioception by having the patient follow the athletic trainer's pattern. To make this harder for the patient, have them close their eyes. In this phase, we work to increase strength, flexibility, and restore scapular rhythm below 90 degrees. Now that the patient has increased their external range of motion, we need to strengthen those muscles. Here we add a TheraBand to create resistance. Make sure there's a towel placed underneath the arm so that it stays out of the muscular zone. Since we established the range of motion with prone, Y, T, and I's in phase 2, we now add weight to make it a strengthening exercise. Push-up plus is the first step in a push-up progression. It activates the scapular muscles. After mastering this exercise, the patient could then move on to wall push-ups, table push-ups, floor push-ups, diamond push-ups, box push-ups, physio ball push-ups, and Bosu push-ups. Since the patient has done prone rows, they may now go to a TheraBand resisted row, making sure they pinch their shoulders before they start. Patient has now progressed to a harder rhythmic stave. If the patient cannot control their movement, you can make a shorter lever arm and progress them to the wrist. This can be made harder by closing the patient's eyes. Also, to keep the lower part of the upper extremity strong, we need to have a resisted range of motion for the elbow with pronation and supination. In this phase, we maintain range of motion, increase power, and increase conditioning exercises for enhanced function. The patient is still increasing strength with a resisted abduction. After completing the full push-up progression in phase 3, the patient may progress to a clap push-up. This helps develop power. The BAPS board can be used to continue to develop proprioception, first having the patient move side to side and progressing them to circles. Ball toss incorporates power, strength, and a proprioception exercise. This helps strengthen the athlete and prepare them for functional activity. You may need to progress them from an eccentric pull-up to a concentric pull-up. Chair scoots help increase proprioception and strength. It strengthens the whole upper body as well as the core. At At this phase, the patient should be fully functional and we should be maintaining strength and increasing endurance. Bilateral ball toss increases power as well as strengthens transverse abdominis. At this point, the athlete will be returned to activity and it is important to condition the entire body. Versa climber increases cardiovascular strength as well as upper and lower body strength. Block pushes also increase cardio and upper and lower body strength and provides a functional exercise. This tackling exercise helps provide a more functional exercise. It helps recreate the mechanism of injury in a controlled environment to help increase biomechanics. Rope climb increases cardio and upper body strength.